Yeah, and you've mentioned this to me a number of times, Evan, but it'll be good to maybe hear you explain it. I mean, you've talked to us about adding, and we're adding auto assignment and then communication triggers. Do you think it goes beyond that in connecting the dots? And it doesn't have to be about Lend, but I'm curious to dig into that a little bit more.
I do. I'm very wary of auto assignment of anything. But there are elements. I mean, I'll speak just from my personal experience in the music festival industry is that, we group people into the different buckets, whether that's staff or whether that's press and media or whether that's our sponsors or whether that's our guest. And, each of these little buckets we handle a little bit differently for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's not just a request and an approval process. And that we come to teams like yours, Chris, and say, we need this type of functionality because we do want to be able to give like a credentials bank allotment that is approvable and say, hey, we know this, this food vendor or this sponsor who have teams that are on site for their activation. We're never going to get the names in advance, but we still want the names eventually, Yeah. And even the primary contact from, let's just make up a sponsor. Let's say Delta is an activating sponsor on site. They have 15 people that are coming to hand out whatever their widgets are they're handing out. They may not even know who those people are. They're trying to hire them locally. And so being able to have that flexibility to say, yes, this type of person gets this type of credential, being able to assign an allotment of they get 15 of those credentials and I can approve them and then they can fill in the names after the fact. Providing that level of flexibility is what makes a system like Lend as powerful as it is because it is giving those different options to try to meet. But I will say, like when I talk to some of the tech team, sometimes I explain this stuff and they look at me like, why would you ever want to do that? And they're like, what is, and this is the response. What's the use case for that? I love having those use case conversations. And I get it. You don't want to put your development time into something that is a luxury item for my event. You want something that's valuable to all of your clients.
Yeah.
I get that. But I will say that your team has been responsive enough to be able to understand, yes, that does make sense. And no, everyone won't use it, but there are a lot of our clients that will, and we do see the value.
Totally. Well,
actually, question for Justen as well. On the MBA side, we've had the luxury in the credentialing group that we are the generally 95% of the time we are the end result or the end people that make the decisions on access and approvals. The NHL is the same way. I was the end all. I was that person. I said yes or no. The decision was on me, and the people above me supported those decisions. Sometimes they would have opinions or would tell you no or yes if they just had some time to review the things. But Justen, do you have at the NFL? I mean, are you that? I mean, is your group Are you the people that have the final result on who gets what?
Yeah, it's a little bit mix of us and. Depending on where you are, if you're talking things related to like the playing field at games or restricted play areas, football operations, our security teams are involved. I try to keep just all various stakeholders in the loop because I could have an understanding of something and say yes, and football operations security has a completely different understanding. So that's what I'm working towards now. How do we all get on the same page so we're not all understanding where it's not events said yes, but we're really against it and any mix of that.
Yeah. So it does sound
do you have any automated multi-layered approvals? Has anybody figured that out yet? Or is it all just email and
it's all emails, spreadsheets, Zoom, many hours reviewing names on a list. Now we have an in-house system that we use, and just to even think through, like, multi-layered sounds great, right? But like, how do you even build that out? There's like no, at least in my mind, no clean way to do it. Definitely a wish, but we haven't figured it out for sure.
Yeah, so it does sound like the sports league is pretty much it. They the credential groups are deputized of being the end all, with being the final say, essentially. Mostly is what it sounds like to me, because I know the MLB does that way, NHL, NBA, and now confirmed with the NFL. So it's interesting to know.
Well, it sounds like in talking with you, Justin, it's departmental, right? It starts the department and then it moves up to you. Is that the how it flows?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Well, the starting point, like Evan said, is all right. Who came last year, right? And start from there, and who are still the players, and who's new, and you kind of go from there. And then, let's say our digital media team cuts a deal with whatever group that is now going to come work with us. Okay, we need to be made aware of that. Where, yeah, maybe they've asked our operational team and they want a spot on the field at the 50. Great. And they're moving forward with that. And I never get told that group is actually working there. So it's true. Like Evan said, again, herding cats and starting a department, or one larger production vendor brings on a subcontractor that's doing something and they just assume, oh yeah, they're set for creds, but they're actually not, and just all those nuanced pieces. So it varies. Departments and just different like larger production vendors are usually the starting point.
Cool.
Yeah, we had at the NBA. It was 1 to 2 people that were solely the only people clicking those buttons to give the access. That was it. It came down to, it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of mistakes can be made, but when you do 7,000 credentials for a small event with 10 decisions each, that's 70,000 decisions that 1 to 2 people are making in a span of a week or two. And then you repeat it for the next event, which could be weeks later. With the NBA, there's 5 different leagues, so it's quite a bit of burden on 1 or 2 people, but you get through it.